Right, it's just gone live, guys. Literally just gone live. Right, well, this is pretty crazy. It's like 46 minutes in and it's got nearly 2,000 views. It's going crazy again. Whoa! Right, that last video that I posted has literally just blown up. Look, nice work, your video's really taken off. It got 486% more views than usual in its first 42 hours. Thanks for that, haters. Gives the channel a little boost. And thanks to all the support that I've been getting. I've been just literally, I can't even believe, look at this. This is just so crazy. There's 621 comments on this video. And literally all of them, the majority of them are positive. There's a few saying, well, what do you expect? But, you know, the rest of them are positive. And I'm just really glad that so many people have just come out of the woodwork and just kind of, you know, said something basically, because it is really interesting. I mean, I'm not going to make any more of a deal about it. Like, you know, I've said my bit on the video. It's done, it's sorted, there's no problem. But what I am going to do is I am going to start something here with this particular bike, which you might be able to see just a little bit of it in the frame. So what we got here, guys, see by the mirrors, we've got a road legal moped, 4 kilowatts, 30 mile an hour max top speed, maybe a little bit more. And this is going to be put on the road. It's going to be registered, it's going to be taxed, it's going to be insured, it's going to be really boring. Now, I'm not doing this for any other reason other than I was going to do this in the first place anyway with this bike. That was always the intention with this bike. You know, I've got the other bikes, I've got the off-road bike and all the other stuff that I do. You know, this one is hardly used, mainly because, you know, I just use it for the odd video here and there and just kind of test different stuff out. So, yeah, this one's going to get put on the road. I'm quite excited about it, actually. I mean, it looks a bit goofy with these mirrors on, but we'll get it through the test once it's done, which is booked for in about a week's time. So I've got a really quick turnaround test. I've pulled some strings to get this test done quickly, and then we'll get this on the road basically, and then I can show you guys if you want to do a similar thing. You know, you can, because I think it's about time this happened, and also it's going to open the door for my company to be able to kind of produce, you know, electric mopeds as well, all of that, you know, not just the e-bike side of things. So that was always my intention as well. But yeah, interesting, but I haven't got long to sort this out, and there's a few little bits and pieces. I've started to do things already, like obviously put the mirrors on, I've put the stand back on, I've sorted out something to do with this brake light on the back here. I need a number plate holder for that. With the side of this one, because I've had to get to the controller, because what I need to do is restrict the max power, so 4 kilowatts, 30 mile an hour, and then obviously you can just, you know, take that off after you've gone through the test. I don't even know how they test the power, so this is going to be quite an interesting process of how they actually do it. I need to sort this out as well. I'm going to remove that phone thing, probably replace this top panel. I've put new side panels on here as well from another kit. You know, it's starting to look pretty cool. Now, I know when you go down this route, you're signing your life away, you're signing this over, you're paying money, all that kind of rubbish. But do you know what? I don't care, actually, at this point. I don't care about that side of things. You know, if you want to put a vehicle on the road, you've got to do it that way. There's no other way around it. If you want to ride a normal e-bike on the road or a modified one, then do it. But what's quite interesting here is that this particular bike, you know, has got a VIN number. Well, this sort of thing, once you've done that process and you've done that thing, what's to actually stop you, you know, putting that on another bike anyway? You know, if it's the same bike, what does that matter? And the other thing that's going to be really funny is at the traffic lights, you're basically going to blow anything away. Even if this runs 4 kilowatts, it's still going to pull away quicker than anything. You know, the power to weight ratio is going to be huge. And then if you de-restrict it, you're just going to be pulling away from sports bikes, I think, off the line. So that's what's happening, guys. I've got some more work to do on this, but I'll be covering all that in this video. Blowing up out there again. It's been a long day, guys, but I'm coming back into the workshop now to do some stuff on this. So first thing I wanted to do was I actually replaced this panel. You can see how fresh that looks there, and I've just basically fixed it on with these two kind of thumb screw things. This is how the whole bike basically goes together. All the panels go together with these kind of aluminium things. They're quite lightweight. Some people say they're a nightmare and they cross thread. I've never had any issues with that, but basically that's what happens with this. It just holds this on, but there is some adhesive under here But what I want to do is try and get rid of the existing adhesive first. Basically got this adhesive rubber seal around the outside, and it does actually protect the inside from water and dust and all that sort of stuff. So let's just get this off, and it just basically comes off. So you can see here's the adhesive. Careful not to scratch that on there. Yeah, there's the adhesive there, and that basically just sticks to the underside here. Now there is already some adhesive on here, some tape left over and rubber left over from before, so I might just get rid of that and then I can fix that on properly. Okay, so all that's off. Just need to stick the finished bit on. So I can whip the backing tape off this adhesive. Yeah, he says. And then I'm just going to stick one of these bolts through there to line it up with the hull. You've got to push this top bit up there first. That's all right, it can't really go anywhere else actually. Let's get the bottom lined up. Oh no, that's what you don't want. God, that wind's kicking up out there. It's nice new bottom plate, so that actually protects that bit underneath where the water is obviously going to go in there. It can't go in because I've actually put like a plastic thing in here to stop anything flicking up or spraying back into there. But if you don't block that hole up, then it could be a problem. All these connectors are mostly waterproof though. Sorted. That looks way better. Oh, I just had a couple of other bits to do, just like sort out some of these wires, but it's nothing really major. So I'm going to stick the side panel on now, the other side panel. That is pretty much sealed up. What I've done with the controller is I'm trying to limit it to about 4 kilowatts and a maximum of 30 mile an hour. So I've actually altered the programming already. And yeah, the trouble with this Adverton controller is that it doesn't always exactly work out to what you've programmed. It doesn't always register it properly. You know, some settings will kind of override other settings. I think, like if you've got a really high phase current, it will actually, you know, take more battery amps, even though your battery amps are set a bit lower. So I've been finding that with the programming. So it's going to be a bit of kind of trial and error to try and get, you know, the limit set. So that, I mean, I don't even know if they're going to test that, to be honest. I really don't. Probably not. I mean, how are they going to know? They're not going to know it's 4 kilowatts, apart from the fact that it's displayed on the screen, of course. That is a stupid thing, actually, because you can't do anything about this. You can't get rid of this wattage display on here. So I'm going to have to, you know, I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to make sure it only goes up to 4,000. I think if it just skipped over 4,000, maybe like 5,000 or something briefly, it would probably be fine, because that's probably what a motorcycle with an engine probably does. But it's a bit annoying, really. I'd rather just leave it as it was. As I've said, we'll just de-restrict it after. It's pointless. Well, I've taken the other side off now, and the actual seat as well. I've had to take the connectors out for the charger and the switch, because I want to add some more carbon film on here. This hole was just getting on my nerves, and I've just, I don't know, this is just a bit of a mess, so I'm just going to cover this over. Can you hear the wind turbine? It is absolutely kicking it out there. It's not producing a lot of power at the moment though. Right, covered it. You can still see a little bit of a bump there where that hole is, but now I'm just sticking the charge socket back on. Stuck the BMS power switch on as well. It's easy because that's just got a connector underneath. I just want to check the polarity of the charge socket now, just to make sure it's all okay. The other end of this just goes to like an Anderson connector, so I'm just going to check the polarity on that, make sure it's looking good. One thing I've learned with this stuff, guys, is never take anything for granted. If you think you've done something right, just double check everything, because you're dealing with quite high voltages on this sort of stuff. 81.4 volts. It's not showing a minus. So there you go, all good. Stick the seat back on then. I want to look at getting a different seat. Maybe making something that fits in this space a bit better, because this is a little bit, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it works. This seat is actually pretty comfortable when you're not pedalling. It's a couple of days later now. I've been working hard on the bike, and I'm going to show you where I'm up to now. So the first major thing that I've been working on is this rear light setup. So I've actually changed this now completely. I already had this bracket on here which is just stuck on there with, you know, really strong sort of adhesive, and I've changed this rear light because the original rear light, or the one that I had on here before, had indicators on it, and I'll come to that in a second. But I've not got indicators now. I've just literally got a tail light and a brake light and a stop light. And I've actually put on this, well, this was actually part of this light setup, but originally I didn't have this on here. And this one's got the number plate holder built in, so under here there's a little white LED that kind of shines on this. Now, I've been playing around with the angles. I think this is going to be okay. It's kind of up as far as it's going to be. If I have to put a big plate on here, well, I'm not going to put the massive plate on here, to be honest, because it's just going to look stupid. But there is a danger that it might bang on that. But I think with that angle, it probably will be all right. So that's that. It's really straightforward to wire up. It's just 3 wires. I've actually got the indicator wires in the loom under here, just, you know, kind of wrapped up, and it's all insulated and tie wrapped underneath there, so you know, so no water or anything's going to get in. But this basically works. So when you pull any brake lever, you get your big, nice, bright brake lever, and you also get the number plate light lighting up as well, which is a bit annoying, but that's how it is. It shouldn't be a problem. You're not going to see that in the daylight anyway. And then you've got obviously your main dips lights, and this will come on, and then when you squeeze your brake lever on any side, it will just do the brake lights. I kind of just cut this little bit of plastic out so that I could have kind of like a little tail end to make it look a bit nicer than that kind of, you know, that hole in the middle. So I think that looks pretty tidy, really. Oh yeah, you can also see a reflector here. Now, I don't know if that is going to be any good for the test, because you're supposed to have a reflector on the rear, and this kind of isn't really the rear, it's pointing towards the rear. Well, it's pointing out that way actually, but what you're really supposed to have is a reflector facing the rear, on the rear. So maybe I could put one there, or put it at the bottom of the number plate thing that I'm going to sort out for that. So that's that. So I can't remember if I already mentioned this, but I actually had some questions that I wanted to put to the MSVA approvals test centre before I actually went there. So I managed to get a technical email address for them, and I've put a few questions to them, and one of the questions was about the indicators. What I was saying was, you know, because you don't have to have indicators if it's a moped, you don't actually have to have them at all. But what I have got is, obviously I had indicators on the rear, so I've decided to take them off, but I'm still going to have the switch gear for the indicators. And the question was basically, can you have a switch on here that doesn't work, doesn't do anything? And they've come back and said yes, so that's absolutely fine. The other queries I had was about the tyres, because these are tyres, they're Duro tyres, so I don't think Duro is Chinese, I don't know, but they haven't got some of the markings that, you know, they mention in this kind of thing. But basically I sent a load of photos to them, and they come back and said what is on the tyre does seem to be acceptable, but this would depend on the bike. That's basically to do weight, I think. The tyre shows L for the speed and load, and the load characteristics. This in combination with the dot mark should suffice. So basically the tyres seem fine. The other thing I had a query about was the stand, because they mentioned that the stand itself actually either has to have an inhibitor on it, so basically when it's down in the down position, you know, you can't ride off, it stops the motor, which would just be a complete pain in the butt to kind of, you know, do. They said you don't need to worry about that if it will fold up if you kind of move forward, or you can show, I'll show you what they actually said. You would need to demonstrate that the stand is effective at supporting the bike when down, swinging backwards when you kick it back and remain in there. It will not drop down and catch on the road when it should be locked in the up position, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, that looks fine. It's got a big spring on it. It's not going to go anywhere when you're actually, you know, it's going to hold it up. No problem at all. And again, this is probably another age-old thing that needs to be changed, because bikes, you know, these bikes aren't anywhere near as heavy as a normal moped or motorcycle, you know, and these big chunky stands just look ridiculous on the side of here. So, and I don't even think you need it for an MOT, so yeah, it'll be gone. And the other thing which shows how antiquated this is they reckon you're supposed to have a permanent marking of miles per hour on the display, or they actually say on the dial, but it's basically fine because you've got miles per hour on here. As long as it doesn't default to kilometres when you reset it, as long as it shows miles per hour all the time, that's fine. Now, another thing which I've actually raised another query about, because they're saying you're supposed to have a telltale if your headlights are on. So my headlights are completely controlled by switches, they're not controlled by the display. The display has a function on here, but it doesn't actually do anything. See that little headlight thing? It'd be nice to get that wired up, but I don't think it's going to be possible with this particular display. So a telltale is basically that little light that comes on to show your headlights are on, but on a moped you don't have to have that because you don't have side lights. If you have side lights, you have to have it. But then the other thing they say, in the dark you would have your dip lights on, where for riding in the dark you would also need a backlight on the instrument panel, as you're required to be able to read the dash in all modes of operation, i.e. this includes low light and darkness. So yeah, I mean, what I've read into that is that it should be fine, because this is always illuminated anyway. I mean, it's a modern display, so this turns on when you turn the bike on, so you're always going to see this, you know, in normal light. And also you're always going to see whether the front light's on. So I think it should be fine. So it's getting there. What was a pain in the butt was getting the Sabvaton to actually play ball and kind of restrict its power, because these things just want to be, you know, giving all the amps and everything else, which so do I really. But for the purposes of this, what I needed to do is obviously restrict it down to, I've been saying 30 mile an hour in this video, but it's actually 28 mile an hour, but whatever. So I've been trying to get it to restrict its power to, you know, 4 kilowatts, and I've done that. And what I actually had to do was lower the phase current. So if you've got a battery current of 60 amps, phase current should be, what, 180 amps, something like that. I think I've set it to 150. So it's quite conservative, 150 amps phase current, and then 60 amps battery current, because 60 amps at about 72 volts is around 4,000 watts. So that's exactly where we want to be. So I've done that, and on all power levels, because you've got 5 power assist levels on the Sabvaton, all of those, the lowest one, it will crawl, you know, it starts to crawl very, very low. If you put it in the highest one, it won't go over 4,000 watts, you know, maybe a little bit over 4,000, but I think that should be fine. And the speed limit I've done as a percentage, there's a little setting in the MQCon app which you can set, and you basically just put internal speed limit and then put a percentage. I think it was like 65% or something like that. So the rear wheel off unloaded spins up to about 45 mile an hour. And then, you know, when it actually, you know, has a load on it, it probably doesn't go above about 30. But it's difficult to tell because I can't ride it on the road. Well, I can, but you know what I mean. So all in all, I think that's it. I think we're pretty good to go. This headlight will probably need to just be adjusted, which is easy enough to do for the, you know, the beam and everything like that. So as you can see, getting a bike ready for this process is a complete pain in the backside, to be honest. And, you know, it is just, they just need to change it, because it's just way too much, way over the top for what it is. But, you know, I wanted to do it. I wanted to show the process, and I'm going to try and film in the test centre if I can. I probably won't be allowed, but we'll actually see what happens, and hopefully it'll pass. If not, I'll try again and I'll get it through, because oh, just cut myself on something sharp. Hopefully they won't test that. But the advantage to this, of course, is it just raises the bar, because, you know, it's going to actually be quite good just going down the middle of the road. Obviously, you're not going to be able to stick to 30 mile an hour because cars go faster than that. So I'm quite looking forward to blasting around everywhere this spring, summer. It's going to be great. So that's it for this one, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, do all the usual stuff. And yeah, in the next video, we'll find out if it passes or not.